Dear students, parents, and well-wishers of VGU, I, Sunil Rao, course coordinator at VGU, welcome you on this particular special session of webinars. So, this series of webinars that we have been doing is a part of the effort to inculcate the industry experience into the course curriculum. As you have seen, and as we have talked in the previous sessions also, the curriculum has been designed by taking inputs of all the industry people, and then there'll be industry people who will be teaching the students. The idea is students are very well aware of what is going on inside the industry, and accordingly they prepare themselves. And in the same way, and in the same vein of things, today we are bringing one of the most eligible expert on HR related aspects. HR, as you all are aware, human resource management. We also had a session with Mr. Vikas Songara, who was HR head for Airtel. Now, today I'm joined by Mr. Kalpesh Banker. He is a leading recruiter into education sector. We'll try to understand from him what do we mean by recruitment and all. Hi, Kalpesh. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. So let's
And
just let me talk. Let me talk people through the profile of Kalpesh. Kalpesh has been into recruitment industry for more than a decade now. He specializes into a very niche area of education-related recruitment consultancy. He also is one of the leading authors writing for various publications. He has written articles in different newspapers, including Indian Express, Times of India, and other newspapers, no, not every. So let me come to Kalpesh. So Kalpesh, what recruitment is and how a new person will understand and what role it plays into overall spectrum of HR.
okay. Uh, so the overall industry is evolving. Uh, if you look at current scenario, we are at a very important stage. So to understand where we are and how to move forward, we need to go back to
Correct.
understand where we are right now. First of all, we are if you look at the overall industrial revolution, we are in the fourth stage of industrial revolution, which is called 4.0, industry 4.0. It started in somewhere around 1760, and it was considered as the first phase of industrial revolution, which is industry 1.4, 1.0, where the automation, or you can say industrialization just began. Something like so earlier there were hand machines for textiles. It got converted into machines. So two three areas mainly benefited, which were textile industry, iron ore, and all those industries. And UK was the leader in that. Britain was the leader in that, and it got up to 30 percentage of the overall world's population by the end of industrial revolution one. How it changed earlier, from the skills point of view and from the opportunity point of view, earlier there were craftsmen. Then they became craftsmen using tools. So they were handcrafts. They got converted into tool-based crafts, or some kind of tools and a mechanical component attached to it.
Right.
The company which got the most benefit out of it, then the another major innovation during this time was steam engine, and the major benefit of this kind of revolution was to the companies in this segments. So companies like East India Company, companies like Vadia Group, which is Britannia right now, they got huge benefits out of it. The second revolution came in terms of mass manufacturing, in which the companies like you can say these let's say Tata Group, or you can say GE or Ford Motor Company. All those companies got large assembly line placed, and uh, it eventually helped those who were able to shift from being a craftsman to worksmen. Those who were able to work in the factories, they got benefited. Uh, the third revolution came in the form of use of computerization, which started somewhere around 1960s. Precisely, you can say that 1967, which was led by a logical PLC, so programmable logical circuit, and we are somewhat shifting from third industrial revolution to fourth industrial revolution. In third industrial revolution, what was required? It was somewhat programming skill and ability to capture data and somewhat process on it. Automation of industrial manufacturing happened in a very fast pace. Robotics came in. Where we are right now, it's the most interesting phase, I can say. We are in the beginning of industry 4.0, which means from here the next step will be so because of industry 3.0, three major changes happened. One, industry started capturing huge amount of data. Second, there is a huge computation capability increase. Earlier, the computers were very large, full size room size computers were there. Now it is a very small device. And then third is network. A network because of which all the devices are connected. They are talking to each other, which is called Internet of Things. In this kind of scenario, uh, the skills which were needed in earlier industrial revolution are somewhat not completely matched. There are new skills which will be required. So, from the recruitment point of view, on one side, there is a huge skill gap. On the other side, in the country like India, there is a huge new talent pool coming in. But the major challenge for any of the recruiter is to match these two. So I'll give you my example. I started as a search firm, executive search firm, or you can say leadership recruitment firm focused on higher education. So we generally do director, dean, vice chancellor, those kind of searches, and at the same time for some of the most prestigious institutions as well, international universities as well. Here, if you look at India, the industry is operating at around 35% shortage of skilled workforce in this sector. And on the other side, if you look at those who would like to come into education sector, the number is huge because of edtech and all those new things. The supply is huge. Demand is also huge. It is operating at around 35% shortage. But the skills which is required and the skill which is available, they are not matching. So as a search firm or as a recruitment firm, my focus remains on understanding the skills required, guiding them in matching with this, guiding them in what is available on one side. On the other side, those candidates who are looking for jobs in this sector, guiding them what is in demand and fulfilling those demand and supply gap and matching them. So, in simple words, this is called recruitment and selection both. Yeah.
Right. So what are different facets? I mean, when you have a job posting in place, you have to fill up a particular post. How do we go about it? I mean, what are the steps that you go ahead with? Just for the understanding part, then we'll go deeper into it.
So we are a search firm. We generally do leadership searches.
Right.
In most of the cases, we don't do job posting, but ideally, we don't do it because those assignments are prestigious assignments, and institution doesn't allow to put it on job portals. But ideal steps will be first, you have to understand what is the requirement. what kind of role is there, understand what kind of skill set which will be required, putting it on paper in terms of job description, identifying key performance indicators, uh, identifying the criteria based on which the performance will be judged, and then identifying where the candidate will be,
Okay.
then reaching out to them, having a discussion with them, understanding their career aspirations, and then giving them input about the specific job opening, and then understanding the fitment by assessment tools, verbal assessment tools, and few other assessment tools we use. And then, if the candidate is right fit for the role, suggesting that profile to the institution which is looking out for those kind of skill set.
Okay, right.
That is the broad process. Yeah.
That's a very simplified way to put things into place, and I hope this has benefited the students a lot in terms of understanding this particular aspect. Okay, Kalpesh, let me take the topic to the current scenario which is going on due to COVID-19. How do you see recruitment scene changing? What kind of changes happening in the workplace as well? I mean, because a lot of workforce we are seeing working from home. So how, what kind of changes it is going to bring in the recruitment first, and second at the workplace?
Okay. So when we are talking about Industry 4.0, the need is for Workforce 4.0. With each industrial phase, the change in workforce or skill set, the required skill set has came. So right now we are entering into Industry 4.0, and the kind of skill sets which are required, it is called 4.0 in Workforce 4.0 or Workplace 4.0. And because of COVID, this change has become super fast. Earlier, very few organizations were doing work from home. Because of this lockdown, it has accelerated. Like, I'm talking about myself. So earlier, I was not thinking of doing work from home much. But now, for the last more than 4 months, we are absolutely from work from home. To manage it well, we are implementing technology. The skill set which was required for managing face to face is different from managing remote. So we have to implement many tools and technology and processes in place. Uh, that is one aspect. In terms of productivity, is also there is a change in productivity. In the initial lockdown period, when the work from home started, the productivity was higher, but eventually it is going down. The stress level is increasing, and all these changes are going to be the challenges of workplace 4.0. Uh, the gig economy is emerging, work from home is emerging, the new skill sets are required, internet based or online based businesses are doing well, whereas on the other side, physical or brick and mortar model of business is not doing well. And this is not just a one off event, this is a beginning of or acceleration of a trend, which was about to something like online e-learning, which was about to happen. Most of the people were saying that yes, e-learning is important and all those things, but it was about to happen in 2030. Now it has happened in 2020, and everyone, each and every organization is looking at how to implement processes. In terms of skill set, also you require different skill set. From the organizational point of view, some of the skill sets which were the most important has become redundant, uh, whereas those skill sets which were not that much important are becoming the most important. Earlier, if you look at traditional organizations, one of the most important was aspect or skill set which was generally being discussed about was uh, you can say being in a way loyalty was there generally in traditional businesses, but in other businesses, punctuality and timeliness. Here, timeliness is super important, but in a very specific way. You have when you are working from home, when you are allowing the employees to work from home, on one side, punctuality is super important, but at the same time, you have to give them freedom. You have to give them flexibility because they are managing multiple things simultaneously. And this is the future. Uh, if you look at the way things are changing, earlier we were managing people. Right now, also, um, at a leadership level, everyone is managing people. But at the entry level, very few were managing people. Now it is going to change, and it is going to change in a very different way. Everyone is going to become manager.
Right.
Yes, but they are not going to manage just a human being. They are going to manage uh, technology tools, and they are going to manage. You will not say robot, but artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Those leaders will become the one who will map the human behavior and map it with the computers learning, which is called machine learning. So let's say A to B. If you give A input, B should be the output. That is
Right.
called machine learning. So the leader's role is becoming what should be A and what should be the programming in between. So the B output will be. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. You are.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So at an entry level, uh, what will be the A input and managing or supervising the process between A and B, which is defined at a leadership level. That is going to be the rule. And I'm talking about a very simple way of explaining it. But moving forward, because of the acceleration and inflection point due to COVID-19, everyone is going to become manager in very short span. The automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence will make everyone manager. We will manage machine. Almost each and everyone will manage machine. That is why moving forward, the kind of skill set which will be required, it will be very different from what we are carrying forward with.
Right. So, one thing that you talked about is being manager, but everybody becoming manager, or let me put it another way, everybody would be responsible for his or her part of the role. That's what we are saying. And another important aspect that is coming out of when we are working, we are having a work from home. The collaboration that you can have across the globe. Now you are not bound by boundary of a city, so your
Yes,
colleague will be sitting one continental away in Europe or maybe in USA, and you are collaboratively working because it's uh, your colleague sitting in USA is equivalent to your colleague sitting in next city or maybe 10 houses away from you. It's no difference. It does not make any difference if you are talking virtually, right? So that's
yes.
another thing that is going to happen. So what kind of role does culture or cultural understanding play into this? So will that be
Um,
a skill set that will be required?
Very important. Cultural sensitivity is going to be the most important thing. But as a broader subset of it, earlier, uh, uh, the importance of emotional intelligence was there, but now it is going to drastically increase. Sensitivity of what to communicate and when to communicate. I'm just putting it in a simple way. But importance of emotional intelligence, what will hurt someone's sentiment, how to communicate it, that emotional intelligence quotient is going to play a major role in future, and that is one of the part of top 10 skills identified by World Economic Forum for Industry 4.0.
Right. So emotional quotient as a competency is what we are
Broader.
brought in
Yes.
broad. So how do you go about judging it in a candidate? I mean, what kind of tests or what kind of how do we make sure that the candidate
Uh,
is having enough EQ?
so honestly, the models are evolving. There are few psychometric tools to measure behavioral competencies. Uh, However, the environment in which everyone is operating is so dynamic. What was earlier well defined as work is now not work. Uh, the work and personal life has merged, and in future also it is going to be like that up to some extent. Certainly, what was there uh, 6 months back, and if you look at it from 6 months down the line, there'll be a huge difference. To map these things, I feel the most important thing is one, obviously psychometric tools, but case studies or role play. You have to ask a question uh, in which you will put an individual in a certain scenario and understand what kind of answer they are giving. So let's say you talked about cultural sensitivity, understanding of various culture. Um, you have to put them. You can ask them in a question. Let's say someone is in US, and if you are talking to them, let's say you have a candidate in US, your client's requirement is that the person should not be above the certain age. Uh, from the US point of view, or from the most of the European and US countries point of view, you cannot directly ask that question. If you ask that question directly, you are you can be sued legally. Number one is understanding that, and second, it is your task. It is important for your client, and it is important for the role to understand what is the age bracket, how to ask that question. So that's a cultural sensitivity. Number one, understanding different cultures. You need to be sensitive about various cultures, various ethnic groups, and then framing your communication to make sure that you are empathetic to others, you and at the same time you get your work done. You need
Okay.
to be balanced. Possibly someone may respond to you in a weird way, unexpected way. How you respond to it. So
So
those are the
one
steps.
So when working from home, there is a workforce, a large chunk of which is working from home. Managing interpersonal relationship becomes a problem in itself, or that will ease out, or that how do you see that kind of a thing?
Mm, it is evolving right now. If I look at current scenario, so earlier, I'll give you my own example. Earlier, when we were operating from office, while work and while just you are passing by, and if there is any question, your colleague will ask you. It will
Right.
not take more than few seconds some of the times. If something is important and something you need to explain, you just tell okay. You'll ask the person to come to his or your own laptop, and you will just explain about it. But in current scenario, what is happening? Even for the smallest thing, because we are generally programmed to communicate verbally more than through text. So what
Right.
happens? I keep on getting calls from my team members.
Hmm.
Uh, so during whole day, most of the time, my call is busy. And that is just 1 second. Uh, and at the same time, I have to understand that it is their challenge right now.
Exactly.
They haven't been able to. They haven't worked from home, or even if they are able to do 90% of their job on their own, but at the same time they will require my help for 10%, 5%, whatever it is. In this case, interpersonal skills plays a major role because number one, you have to be very sensitive about how to communicate it, where to draw your boundary, how much to be flexible within, and get the work done.
Okay. That's very well put up. So my next let me ask you my next question, which is getting into the arena of from the student's perspective.
Hmm.
Uh, let's say today there is a student who wants to get into MBA or BBA and opts for the HRM as a specialization in terms
Hmm.
of getting into recruitment as an industry. 2 years down the
Hmm.
line, 3 years down the line in
Hmm.
case of BBA.
Hmm.
So uh, I'll ask you to define the scope for it. What kind of work he or she will be doing, one, and what kind of business needs are there for that particular candidate.
Okay. So whenever there is a new kind of skill set is required,
Mhm.
there is a need to understand the fitment and define the fitment.
Okay.
Number one, and second, creating the processes to assess the fit.
Right.
So, recruitment is going to be a huge opportunity
Mhm.
at two levels. One, many functions or many steps of recruitment will move to automation.
Mhm. Okay.
And second, there will be human intervention required to guide systems and machines to do the right job. Decision making at some of the places where cognitive skills are required. Here, someone who is a new, there is an opportunity at both the places. Number one, because the new kind of skill set is required, you will have to uh, train the machines um, and to convert what is a business need into machine need in each and every function, whether it is marketing, HR, finance, or any area. You have to translate the business need into machine understandable language, which is called, in simple words, it is called business analysis.
Right.
Uh, so that is where there will be huge opportunity. Doing recruitment on your own is not going to be just a recruitment. It is not going to be recruitment in future. Understanding what is required, what kind of skill set will be which will be required for this role, and training the computer, training the system, training the machine to make sure that it assesses the profiles in the desired manner. That is going to be a role of major workforce in recruitment industry. That is one. Second, machine will always not be in a position to give you right answers. At some of the places, you will have to understand the human aspect. Something like there will be 15, 20, 100 parameters based on which we have trained machine to assess an individual. But at different levels, most of the time at a senior most levels, there will be many more aspects which will not be defined or which are gray areas.
Mhm.
Anything, the answer can be anything. What is right and what is wrong, it is not defined. What is best fit and what is the worst fit is not defined. Which are the areas, which are the criteria to ignore, and which are the criteria to give higher importance to? That will be a human role. That will be the recruiter's role. So, overall, this industry is going to grow tremendously. the kind of workforce which will be required, it will be very different. To understand it and understand the fitment, then making your the machine understand it, it is going to be a major role of a recruitment consultant.
Right. So new kind of demands or new kind of pressure are going to create new kind of recruiters as well, whose skill set will be a little bit different from what we have been seeing for quite some time. One of
Yes.
one of the key words that we keep hearing about, or buzzword that we keep hearing about these days, is HR analytics. A lot of people talk
Hmm.
about it. A lot of people want to get into it, and they say that they practice. So, what kind of role does technology play or is playing in the recruitment? Something like some of the recruiters, most of the recruiters have started seeing social profile of the candidate as well. They scrutinize that as well, maybe, or their digital footprint, so to say. So,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
is the role of all these analytical uh, terms or analytical tools in assessing a candidate's profile and his selection criteria? What kind of a role does it play?
Okay. Uh, so in last few years, we have done huge amount of digitization of physical documents. Let's say 20, 30 years back, most of the organization used to had physical attendance sheet, a book in which you will do attendance. Nowadays, everything is digital. Uh, Almost all the organizations, they have fingerprint machine or biometric or whatever processes are there, because of which they capture the data. I'm just talking about one particular aspect. Based on that, there is huge amount of data which is collected. Uh, Based on that, you can understand who their overall pattern. You have to do analysis on the data which is available. Let's say it is about recruitment. So the kind of profiles you have, your organization has hired in last 5 years, 10 years, you have the data available. Based on that, you can go back and check what is the background of those who are the best performers. Uh, you are talking about social media presence. So one of the area can be those who are the best performers in X role, let's say marketing role, how good they are in managing their own social media profile. So one of the hypotheses can be those who are managing social media profiles are good performers in marketing. So the analytics role, people analytics person's role will be capturing data based on various tools for their own for the employees social profile, internet based, and comparing with their performance. That is the kind of role which will be played by the HR profiles in each and every area, whether it is recruitment, competency mapping, compensation benchmarking. Everything is available. Data is available. What data speaks, understanding that it is going to be an HR person's role if you look at it from the people analytics point of view.
That's wonderful. So, as a CEO, what kind of challenges that you face in because you have been managing your organization for quite some time, and how the role of CEO has evolved over time? You have been working into industry for quite some time now. So, what kind of changes do you see?
Uh, so I'm talking about from the future point of view.
Okay.
Earlier, CEO's role was more of I can say a senior who knows more than their juniors, or every senior's role was generally like they know more than more than their juniors. It is not true in current scenario. So their role from being a supervisor, or in simple words, a boss, to mentor, That is a shift which has came. Understanding each and every team member's potential and identifying good areas in them, and and making sure that the right kind of work is being given to them. As a CEO, my simple principle is I personally believe strategy is an art of creating unfair advantage for your organization. Uh, so you have to make sure that number one, you create your business strategies so that your employees can achieve their maximum potential compared to the other organization with the lowest effort. So here, CEO's role is not supervisory for sure. CEO's role is more of a mentor. Uh, the teams are also getting different, getting fragmented. The culture is also becoming flat. So, as a CEO's role is first understanding the business and translating it into the strategy with based on their internal strength.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Also, there's one question which is coming up from a student side. Rima is asking, what kind of a role does HR play in a startup or newly formed organization?
Okay. Very critical role. In a startup environment, there are 3 aspects the most important. One, the core team is the team which makes or breaks the startup.
Okay.
Second, in today's environment, the organizations grow very fast or they perish.
Right.
Third, to make sure that the attrition level is low, you have to do right kind of selection and make your employees engaged. So HR's role, one, most of the time, HR is the function which is generally in the beginning managed by the founders.
Right.
They build their own core team. Once they may build a 5-6 member team, 3-4 members team, they first hire HR person.
Right.
There, the role of an HR person is very critical. Understanding, because most of the time the CEOs, the founders will be at will their thought process will be at a very higher level. They will think about strategies. Translating it into executable policies is HR role in startup most of the times. So that is a huge opportunity for someone to learn. Second, when you grow at a very fast pace, on one side you have to work on quantity, on the other side you have to manage the quality. Understanding that fine balance from the beginning, it gives you unmatched advantage in your long-term career. And third, recruitment for the retention. So identifying right kind of candidates or employees and making sure that you create a culture, because in the startup, in the beginning, you create a culture. You create an organization culture which makes sure that the organization grows and eventually the attrition rate is low and everyone grows together.
Right.
So HR's role in a startup is very critical. Most of the times it is not well defined, uh, uh, but learning curve in startup organization is very fast. Uh, and I personally believe the kind of exposure you can have in a startup at an early stage is unmatched.
So it's in a startup, the role of HR is more of an organizational builder's point of view. You can say
Yes,
organizational
yes,
development kind of role is what we are
yes.
talking about So
Yes.
I Rima has got her answer. Let me take one more question, which is coming from Arya Batra. So Arya Batra is saying, we have heard 10 seconds is all it takes to reject a resume or select a resume, or they make up their mind. So is that true? That's what he's asking. I mean,
Absolutely true.
absolutely.
Absolutely true.
Okay. How do
Uh,
we go about judging the candidate in 10 seconds, 15
so
seconds?
so most of the times, and even now it will not take 10 seconds. And now it is not going to take seconds because the human will not scan it. I'll give you why. So what is happening right now is an experienced recruiter knows where to see, what to check.
Hmm.
In their mind, whether there is a formal document or not, but in their mind, for each and every role and each and every profile, they have check boxes. They just look at the profile. There are chances that if it is mentioned at a particular place, if it is, they find it, they look at, just scan it once, and if they find something over there, they will select it. If they don't find those data points over there, they reject it. Over the period of time, they have their own biases. Something like, uh, I personally believe, and that's my bias, and everyone has bias. If the percentage is not mentioned in your profile,
Mhm.
I will reject.
Okay. So you'll take it as he must be having a low percentage, right? That's how
Someone who
you're
is hiding. Someone who is hiding.
oh, okay. You're seeing it as somebody who's hiding, trying to hide. Okay. Yeah.
Percentage is mandatory. At least your last two degree percentage is mandatory. But now how it is gonna move to the next level? It is gonna be scanned by the computers. It is gonna be scanned by the machines. So it will not take even that much time. There will be algorithm which will tell them what to select and what not to select. They will not have human skills.
Right.
They will not be flexible.
Mhm.
I may try to find out percentage in one scan. If I don't find it, I may try give it one more try to
Right.
find it at some. It might be possible that it is mentioned in some other corner, but machines will not. They will be well.
Mhm. Please,
It will
please.
be well defined. It will be well defined. So I feel it is the most important document in your career. Your resume. You have to make sure that you put your data correct and in the best readable format. Don't go for fancy resume formats. Make it simple, but at the same time, it should communicate it clearly and precisely.
Right. And what kind of role does having different certification or having some relevant work that they have done in the past play in a particular, again, selection or rejection kind of a scenario? When we are looking for, say, people who are 0 to 2 years experience.
So, uh, in current scenario as well, or in past, all professional certifications and experience, relevant experience, have played critical role. However, in future, it is going to be the most important.
Okay.
Everyday technology is changing.
Mhm.
What you learned 5 years back is not relevant. You have to upgrade yourself
Right.
on regular basis. You have to go for new courses, new certificates. If someone is not going for that, it is considered as negative. Someone who is continuously learning, one impression that person is giving is this person will be fit for anything. The
He's
role may
training.
change tomorrow.
Yes.
He's trying
He is
to adapt to the change.
right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he's trainable. That's what we think when it comes to us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Like, and it's not just at the entry level, across. I did 7 courses in this lockdown duration.
Oh, wow. At,
It was not necessary.
because at this stage of your career, I mean, you would not even need to do one, and you have been doing 7. So I hope the students who have been listening to this, there's one very, very important aspect that is talked about, just touched upon is, I mean, he at this stage of his career where he's been very, very successful, his articles are being published by leading newspapers. He is one of the shining lights in recruitment. He has done 7 again. Let me rephrase. Let me re-put it. 7 certifications. That's the kind of importance these certifications are having. And Kalpesh, on this very note, I would also mention that as a part of our curriculum at VGU, what we have been doing or what we are planning to do is to embed industry certification into the course itself, so that uh, let's say there is a student, apart from doing this regular degree that he will be doing with us, he will also be doing at least 2 or 3 certifications along with it, so that wherever he is interested into, let's say somebody is wants to get into recruitment, so he may have a separate recruitment related certification as well, apart from the BBA HR or MBA HR. I hope that would help, because this was a critical input that we received from industry itself, that certifications play a key role in differentiating a good candidate and from a normal candidate.
That's great that you are taking that initiative. That is the future. That makes student ready for workforce.
Absolutely.
As in, as so there are UTC guidelines, because of which most of the courses, formal courses I'm talking about, it needs to be in one particular pattern. Upgrading it requires huge amount of time. It takes years in changing the courses, getting it approved by the UGC, and that's why it takes time. Whereas, so many of the times, some of the courses you are doing in your formal education might be outdated by the time you enter in the workforce. So that is why it is of utmost importance that you do certifications, even if it is not for the sake of certification. Learn skills which are industry ready, relevant.
Right. Absolutely. Very, very well pointed out. So let me take the last question with you, since we are running a little bit on the edge of the schedule. So what is your advice to the budding recruitment persons who want to get into this industry? So an advice from a seasoned recruitment expert. What are 2 or 3 advices, maybe, if you can be precise, and that would be great.
Uh, so first, make sure that you are trying to become strong on psychology part. Uh, that is first advice. Second, uh, try to understand industry trends. Not just I'm talking about recruitment trends, but workforce trend. Those things are generally not being taught. You have to take your own initiative in learning them.
Right. So
Uh,
psychology is one, and second is industry. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
no, these are the core
So when you
strengths
say
for
psychology,
becoming successful.
we are talking about the way human works, human behavior, and psychology. That's what we are talking about, right?
Yes, yes.
So
So
understand. Yes, please.
overall, HR is part of behavioral psychology, industrial psychology. You cannot just jump to the next level. Even if you jump to the next level, you have to make sure that your base is strong. So on your own, because it is impossible for uh, combining all the courses in your curriculum. Your base, ideally, it should be from the college, or if you are in management, MBA or something, or at least some aspect should be done from the schooling. But you have to make sure that you make your base strong on your own. It is no one else's responsibility; it's your own responsibility.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, so wonderful. So I, on behalf of Viju, again, I would like to thank Kalpesh Venkar for coming and sharing with us the kind of insights he has given us about the industry role that is going to be there in maybe 5 or 10 years down the line. In the future, what kind of role recruiter will play and how industry is shaping up. Also, we talked in detail about the COVID-19, how the workplace is changing due to this. So a lot of things, a lot of changes are going to happen. So I would like to thank again Kalpesh for all the knowledge that he has been distributing. And also I would like to invite you to come and visit VGU campus in Jaipur whenever we come out of this lockdown situation and we start the classes, and share your ideas with the students. Students will benefit a lot from your experience, Kalpesh.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kalpesh.
Take care.